Welcome to the stage, Vice President of Education, Dr. Branick Rigs.
Oh my goodness. It is so good to be at a live event, isn't it? Now, we love all of you that are watching at home. Thank you for joining us how you can, but really the energy of a live event, I have missed that over the last several years. So I'm very grateful to be here. Let me just tell you a little bit about who I am. I've been asked to speak today about doTERRA Beyond the Normal, and really why doTERRA is a different company from a scientific perspective than many others that are out there. So first, as we often talk about in doTERRA, let me tell you a little bit about my why. I am a family physician, trained in integrative medicine at the University of Arizona. While I was there, I learned about herbals, I learned about meditation, I used Qigong in my practice, and eventually essential oils. It was actually my wife that introduced me to essential oils. Like many of you men out there, let's just admit it, sometimes they're a little bit smarter than we are. They listen and are open to things that sometimes we are not. And then we learn and we begin to understand what they know. So when she introduced me to doTERRA essential oils, I saw a significant difference personally as she used them on me. I had a particular challenge. She said, "Honey, let me put some oils on you." I said, "Sure, at least they smell nice." And then I found that they changed what my expectation was. And that got me interested. I then began looking at the science and began to look at all of the research that's out there about essential oils and began to understand them from a chemistry standpoint and from a medical standpoint, what my wife had used on me. So then she took me to convention. Again, I will admit, I was not so excited about going to a convention, especially a network marketing convention. As you know, what happens at network marketing conventions, we talk about earning $1 million, we talk about nice cars and beautiful homes, and there's very little content, right? That's what network marketing is all about. And then I went to convention, and there wasn't a single word about those things. What they talked about was science. What they talked about was chemistry. What they talked about is how to help people and how to serve people. And so I stood in a line after convention, talked to Emily Wright, as the story has been told many times from this stage, right? And I said, "Emily, I'm Dr. Riggs, and I need to know more about what you're doing." And she said, "I'm not the person to have that conversation with. You need to meet Dr. Hill." So I stood in another very long line and eventually talked with Dr. Hill. And Dr. Hill, as I questioned him about some of the science, I questioned him about some of the information, and I particularly asked him this question. I said, "What happens if you as a company find something about oils that they could have a negative effect on someone?" He said, "We will tell people about that because it's important for them to know." To me, that showed the integrity of this company. So Dr. Hill and I and his wife, Chris, we began having a great relationship, and I knew very quickly that I, too, had to make a change within my practice and my personal life. And so joined the medical advisory board for doTERRA and have been partnered with them in some way ever since. So I want to start this conversation after you know why I'm here, because of a personal experience and because of the science. Now I want to talk a little bit about some other oil companies. Now, I'm not going to mention them by name because that's not very nice, but let's just talk about what else is out there so we can compare what we have here versus what else is going on in the world. There are some good companies out there, and I will be honest with you, there are some good essential oils out there. But I want to tell you about the difference, okay? So we'll talk about the research and science, we'll talk about testing, we'll talk about partnerships. So in other essential oil companies, why isn't there a lot of research and science? And I did a lot of online research before this to see what else is out there. What are other companies doing? And why don't they have very much research and science? Well, the reason is because sometimes they're not large enough. They don't have the budget for it. Sometimes they're probably concerned about what they might find if they look too deeply. And then also, they maybe know what they will find with their consistency of oils. And usually it boils down to this: there is not a lot of confidence in their own product. So, most oil companies don't do testing, because if they do, they might show that there are flaws in their oils, that there's problems with consistency, there's problems with adulteration, and there's problems with synthetics. Many oil companies claim that they are pure, and they even release their GCMS of their bottles to the consumer. However, GCMS only tells us a very small part of the story of that oil. It does not reveal purity. It only tells us what chemical constituents are found in that bottle of oil, but not whether they're synthetic or not, and not whether or not they've been adulterated. So let me share with you some results. We tested oils from 7 different markets. Here's what we found. In the United States, we tested 500 different oils. We found that 80% of those oils were adulterated. In Australia, we tested 9 different oils. We found that 100% of those oils that came out of Australian companies were adulterated. In Japan, 45 oils were tested. 71% were adulterated, so that's like a C plus or C when you're grading. In India, 15 oils that came out of companies in India, 100% were adulterated. In Europe, this is important, guys, this is you all. We tested 190 oils out of different companies in Europe, found that 72% of those oils were adulterated. And in China, 25 different companies' oils, and we found 84% were adulterated. That is significant. This describes a significant problem in the essential oil market across the world. So now let's talk about individual oils. So we looked also at individual oils. We tested 50 different companies' lavender oil, the lavender oil that they had produced. 80% of lavender oil on the market that we tested is adulterated. In birch oil, 17 companies have birch oil, 100% is adulterated. Bergamot, and we'll talk about more bergamot here in just a minute, but bergamot showed that 95% is adulterated. That's 19 out of every 20 companies have a synthetic bergamot. And clove bud oil, we love our clove, 15 companies, 100% adulterated. This is a significant problem. This is a problem of huge proportions. Okay, now remember, let's flip these statistics a little bit. That means that there are some oils out there that are pure, right? When 85% of the oils in a certain category are adulterated, 15% are pure, and that's okay. We respect that. But the problem is that in most companies, not all the oils are pure. So where is this adulteration happening? Now, I want you to trust me, I do know math, okay? And I recognize this does not add up to 100, okay? So the fact is that about 10% of the adulteration, we don't know where it happens. But when you look at this, at the distillation site, about 10% is where the adulteration happens. This is usually where a distiller sprays aromatic chemicals that are synthetic onto the raw ingredient so that when they get the oil out, it smells better. When you look at the brokers, and this is where the bulk of adulteration happens, because brokers are selling oil by weight. So if you can make things weigh more or be larger, you make more money. And that's where 75 or 70% of adulteration happens, because they need more profit. And each layer of brokering sometimes adds more and more synthetics to the oil. So it's also similar to how a jeweler might grow a diamond. It's the concept that you take your diamond ring into a jeweler to get it looked at, and that jeweler takes your diamond out and puts one in that's just slightly smaller. right, that you may not recognize, and then you get your ring back and they have a larger diamond. And then the next time that someone brings a diamond ring in, they might switch out that diamond, right, and put yours in because yours is slightly smaller than theirs, and they grow diamonds time after time. So also distributors here, which is the least likely, but sometimes distributors will also put synthetics in or adulterate their oils. Again, remember that 10% of the adulteration, we just don't know where that happens. We're not aware of where that happens. So let's take a closer look at Europe. So we looked at 12 brands that we independently tested. Each brand, each of those 12, had at least one oil that had been adulterated. One brand had all but one oil that had been adulterated, meaning they only sold one pure essential oil. 60% of all the oils that we tested in these companies had suspected or confirmed adulteration. That's just within the Europe market. Online sellers also sell oils. This is Gaia Labs, and I'll just point this out. I recently came across, I graduated from the University of Arizona, and they have an integrative medicine program that I trained at. And when I talked to some folks there, this was the oil that they were training folks on. And so I turned to our scientists and said, hey, can you take a look at this particular oil? Now, this oil has thousands of reviews online. This company does. And it is, by the reviews, an amazing, amazing company. Lots of testimonials online. And so it's very, very popular. But when you take a look at some of the research, their sandalwood oil is 100% synthetic. It's not just adulterated, there is actually no sandalwood in it. It's never seen a sandalwood tree, right? So that's a challenge. And yet a university system was training people on oils, not knowing what it is that they have. Again, the earlier comment, this is the GCMS of that particular oil, their sandalwood oil. But when you do further testing, you find that, yes, it looks pretty and it looks scientific. However, the ingredients are 100% synthetic. And that's a challenge. Also, this is peppermint. India sells 4 times the amount of peppermint that it actually grows. What does that tell you? That means that they're growing peppermint in some lab somewhere in India, right? Not really in a field. It is often, the peppermint that they sell in India is often demethylated corn mint oil or Japanese peppermint, which is much cheaper. Remember I told you we were going to talk about bergamot? Bergamot is sold more than 12 times the amount that can actually be grown. So that tells you that there is a large, large market for synthetic bergamot oil. We found this blueberry oil on Amazon. So I get lots of boxes at my house on Amazon. Anybody else fan of Amazon? Yeah, lots of things show up at my house. I don't ever order from Amazon. However, my lovely bride enjoys that. And so we found this blueberry oil on Amazon. We decided to test it. There is actually no blueberry essential oil. We tried to make blueberry essential oil in our lab in Utah, and there is simply no oil in the fruit of blueberry. Okay? So that tells you that this is a 100% fake essential oil. So, sadly, there are few, if any, essential oil companies that have relationships with medical professionals or medical institutions or institutions of higher learning. Now, why not? The issue is it leaves them open to scrutiny. So, enough about them. Let's talk about doTERRA for a minute. And why we are all here. It's for the research and science, testing, and relationships. So let's talk about each of those for just a second. I want to tell you that at doTERRA, we ask the questions, the really hard ones. We have the budget. We consistently have the purest products in the world. And so what is our research budget at doTERRA? What have the owners decided is valuable enough to spend money on for us to research essential oils and our other products? Here is our research budget every year. It is $3.5 million annually. And I will tell you this, and Nicole, who's head of our research committee over there, she can verify this. We turn down many projects, people applying to say, hey, can we have some of those dollars to research some of your oils? And so there's far more interest in the research than we even have budget for at this point. So we try to manage that budget very well and very appropriately for studies that are relevant for all of you. So let's talk about CPTG for just a minute on our doTERRA testing. So what are the number of tests that an oil might go through before we can determine that it is CPTG? Also remember that we have third-party verification that is growing with more and more relationships. And recently, this article, please take a picture of this because we put the reference up there for a reason. This article is recently out of the University of Mississippi, the National Center for Natural Products Research, in which they studied lavender oil from many different companies across the world. And they found that lavender oil on the market today is somewhere between 60 and 90% of it is adulterated. That is an independent study determining that. Now, lavender oil is not really expensive. So I'm often asking myself, if that much is adulterated of an inexpensive oil, how much more adulterated are going to be those that have a high cost to them? So we essentially got an A+ from NCNPR when they tested our oils at the University of Mississippi, and you can go and find the article there. Thank you. We are so pleased with that relationship. Here is a fairly comprehensive list of the testing that our oils go through. You might see 4 different types of GCMS that is up there. Each of those tests tells us different information. For instance, I'll just give you an example. The chiral GCMS that you see there tells us if some of the molecules look the same but are not found in nature. Here's the example I will give you. If you take a look at your hands, you think, oh, they look the same, right? They match. However, we have a right hand and we have a left hand. They, in fact, aren't the same. So this is chiral chemistry, okay? So you might have one chemical compound that looks this way, another chemical compound that looks this way, and this one is made in nature and this one is not. And that's what chiral GCMS can tell us is one made in a laboratory and one made in nature. Efficacy testing is what our research department does to determine if the oils are helpful in either laboratory science or studying on humans in clinical trials. Carbon-14 dating or radiocarbon dating is a method to determine the age of an object containing organic material by using the properties of radiocarbon or a radioactive isotope of carbon. If some of the carbon-containing molecules are one age and some are a different age, then we know that it's been adulterated. It did not come from the same place. And this is the science that doTERRA does with each batch of oil that you get. Our supplements go through similar testing before we release them to you. Here is the list of things that our supplements go through before they arrive on your doorstep. So let's move on to doTERRA relationships, universities, hospitals, and professionals. Here is a list of many of our university relationships. You can see we have the University of Tokyo, University of Mississippi, Brigham Young University, of course, because it's in our backyard, University of California, the University of Medicine and Pharmacy in Târgu Mureș, Romania, Roseman University, Auburn University, etc. This is a picture of Dr. Nagata at the University of Tokyo, whom I had the pleasure of visiting just a month ago. He is doing incredible research on our DDR Prime product and how it can be helpful for women with certain challenges. I am very appreciative of his work and his bravery in continuing to pursue knowledge about this amazing blend. He will publish his paper this fall, and you will find it fascinating when he publishes. Now, we have amongst us this young lady. Now, I'm sure she does not like this picture because it shows her, you can't see her face. But this is Mirella Pribak. Is she here? Where's Mirella? Can you stand up for us? There she is, right over here. Can we give Mirella a big round of applause? Mirella has been doing research that took place at the University of Medicine and Pharmacy in Târgu Mureș in Romania. Mirella is a nutritionist, dietitian, and an integrative medicine practitioner, and is working with Dr. Adrian Manon on the effects of various essential oils on candida. That is really relevant to all of us. The hospital systems that are using oils, we have relationships with several, and the list is growing constantly. 2 days before arriving here, I actually got an email from another hospital system that would like to have a relationship with us. St. Elizabeth's, there at the top of the list, is a 5-hospital system in Ohio and Kentucky where they have the doTERRA Center for Integrative Oncology. The Huntsman Cancer Center. We've got the Banner Health Systems, which is one of the largest in the U.S., covering 6 states and 28 hospitals. The Buda Health Center and National Center for Spinal Disorders here in Budapest, Hungary, with Dr. Peter Varga. Yes, big round of applause for Dr. Varga. I get to spend Monday with he and his family having a discussion about how our research is going there that we hope to present to you in some future convention. We also have Aria Medica, which is an integrative clinic in the city of Brasov, where Dr. Monica Gorea offers integrative pediatric services and uses AromaTouch in her practice frequently. We also have many professionals who are involved with doTERRA, either formally or informally. We have our professional boards. So our medical advisory board consists of myself. I have been asked to chair that board. Dr. Jessica Herzog, who is a functional medicine doctor. Dr. Amy Woltoff is a dermatologist. Dr. Catherine Iga Phillips there is a family practice integrative medicine physician. Dr. Tad Geiger is an anesthesiologist, Dr. Greg Woodfill is an OBGYN, and Dr. Andrew Goff is an emergency room physician. All of these lend their expertise to us at doTERRA to help us understand more about how to use essential oils practically. We also have our veterinary advisory board. Now, I will be honest with you, when I was asked to chair the veterinary advisory board, they said, so Dr. Riggs, we are veterinarians, what qualifies you to chair the veterinary board? I said, I have no qualifications in animal medicine other than I have 3 dogs, a tortoise, 2 birds, 3 fish tanks, 28 chickens, and then, what's our last one? So you can see, we have some animals at our house. But we have Dr. Yamamoto, who's a palliative animal care veterinarian. We have Dr. Frazo, who does holistic small animal care. We have Dr. Rourke, Dr. Janet Rourke, who does large animal acupuncture and veterinary care out of Texas. We have Dr. Fisher, who does acupuncture and chiropractic veterinary care, and then Dr. Larry McGaskill, who does Chinese medicine for animals, as well as veterinary care and acupuncture. So how does this relate to all of you? How does it relate to a doTERRA business? Well, here's the truth. Data is data. The more information that you have, it's always helpful to know. As we learn more about ourselves and our competitors, it helps us in our confidence that we are in the right place with the right company. Number two, if you understand the science and can speak to it, you can use it to relate to those that need that information, for them to also come on board and join you. We may have joined doTERRA because of an oil made us feel better or calmed us, but I promise you there are people out there that want to know the science behind what this does for them. If we can learn to speak the language, we can enlarge our doTERRA family. And number three, the press and publications can do the talking for us. So, with that, I have a huge announcement for Europe. We announced this at Leadership last year, but let me announce it to all of you here at Convention. We now have a committee here in this market. You all have grown large enough that you need your own group of scientists. You heard from some of them yesterday, but let me officially introduce you to Europe's Scientific and Medical Education Committee. Dr. Fernando Guerra is a sports medicine physician as well as a pediatric emergency room physician. He loves doTERRA oils and products, and he has used them since 2018. He's spoken on many stages about the importance of using essential oils in our daily lives. Please welcome to the stage Dr. Fernando Guerra.
How you doing, my friend?
I am well, thank you, thank you. Yesterday, you heard an interview with Dr. Ruth Dempsey and I. Dr. Dempsey is a genetic toxicologist by training and is a member of the UK Committee on Carcinogenicity of Food, Consumer Goods, and the Environment. Dr. Dempsey is passionate about teaching people about toxins and how they affect our bodies, as well as how to prevent the effects of the toxins that we are exposed to. Please help me welcome to the stage Dr. Ruth Dempsey. Hello again. Thank you. And then we have a new addition since Leadership. Dr. Alexandra Nietzsche is the newest member of our Scientific and Medical Education Committee. There's her friend. She is amazing. She is a lieutenant colonel in the Medical Corps and is a teacher and head of the Department of Military Tactics and Tactical Medicine at the Military Medical Academy. As a physician, she specializes as a military unit doctor, a family doctor, emergency room physician, flight surgeon, and a diving doctor and hyperbaric medicine. So we are grateful to welcome to the stage Alexandra Nietzsche. Hello, my friend.
Hello.
Let's have a seat and chat for a little bit, shall we? Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Isn't this fun?
Yes.
Yeah. Finally, we get to have this great panel, right? This is fun.